Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the SmackDown review. And this review is on this past Tuesday's edition of SmackDown. Of course, this was a taped SmackDown, just like how Raw was on Monday, because WWE is overseas, and they were in London. And the SmackDown was from the O2 in London, same arena as Raw was on Monday. And this was SmackDown's go-home show for Money in the Bank, which is this Sunday. And I gotta say, this SmackDown, this was just a boring SmackDown in my opinion. It was just a promo-worthy SmackDown. It was like 85% promos and maybe 40% wrestling. So this was basically a promo-filled SmackDown. And let's get on with the review. So SmackDown opened up with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns came out. You could tell that they muted the boos, and all we heard were cheers. You know how WWE does, with their edits. When they tried to air it here in the US when they were overseas. So Roman Reigns ended up coming out, and he got on the mic, and he said that he's got a little unfinished business from Raw. He goes on to say he's not going to wait till Money in the Bank, and he's going to solve issues right now. He said Elias is the huge problem right now. And Roman introduces one of the solutions. And he welcomes The Miz to SmackDown. The Miz comes to SmackDown because of the wild card rule. So Miz came out. Miz said it's good to be back in London, and that it was good to be back on Blue on SmackDown. He says 5 days, we are 5 days until Money in the Bank, 5 days until Shane McMahon can't run or hide. And he goes on to say Shane put his hands on his father, which is unforgivable and unforgettable. He says on Raw, Shane dodged him, but this Sunday, Shane will be locked in a steel cage. So Shane ended up coming out. He ended up interrupting The Miz. Shane came out with Elias. Elias was there also. Shane says, even though Roman invited Miz to SmackDown, it doesn't make Miz the wild card. And Shane goes on to say that Miz discusses him. And Shane ends up banning the Miz from SmackDown for the night. And so poor Elias, tells Roman to stay in the ring. He ends up telling Roman that underestimating him is going to be the biggest mistake of his career. He goes on to say at Money in the Bank, he's going to prove to Roman why Vince chose him as the biggest acquisition in SmackDown history. And he goes on to say Roman will see on that night why the McMahons have come to find out that WWE stands for Walk with Elias. So Shane ends up saying if both Roman and Miz aren't going to leave the ring, he and Elias are going to have to make them. So we see Shane and Elias, they start to come down, but Shane ends up saying there are a few people who hate the Miz. And so Shane ended up bringing out Daniel Bryan and Rowan. So we had all four Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon, uh, Elias, and Rowan. They end up surrounding the ring. They end up coming in. We had a 4-on-2 brawl, and the Usos end up coming out, which was a surprise. The Usos came because of the wild card rule. So the Usos came out. They end up both hitting a double suicide dive, and they end up taking out Daniel Bryan, Shane, and Elias. And then we see Rowan end up coming out of nowhere with double clotheslines to the Usos. And so Rowan ends up throwing the Usos back in the ring, and we still had a beatdown. The beatdown ended up continuing, and until Roman ended up making the save. He ended up saving his cousins. So, and that's basically what happened. All in all, it was just a meh opening to SmackDown with this segment. And then we had, when SmackDown came back from the commercial, we saw Shane McMahon, Rowan, Daniel Bryan, and Elias backstage. Shane ends up announcing that he's making a 4-on-3 handicap match. So it's going to be Shane and Daniel Bryan, Rowan, and Elias versus the Usos and Roman Reigns. He also goes on to say that if The Miz came anywhere near the match, his match with Shane at Money in the Bank, the steel cage match, would be canceled. And so we had that announcement. It was a 4-on-3 handicap match later on in the night. Then we had Randy Orton. Randy Orton was in the ring. He got on the mic, and he ends up saying that this Sunday he's going to climb the ladder, because he had a ladder set in the ring. He said he was going to climb the ladder, grab the briefcase to become Mr. Money in the Bank for the second time. And he ends up saying the 3 most dangerous letters for the WWE champion. He was talking about Kofi Kingston. That the 3 most dangerous letters for the WWE champion will be RKO. Then we had Andrade, Cien, Almas, and Zelina Vega. They end up coming out. Zelina Vega end up cutting a promo. She ends up saying everyone is so sensitive to spoilers, whether it's Game of Thrones or Avengers Endgame. She goes on to say they don't care about spoilers, and Andrade wants us all to know his endgame, and that they're going to ruin Money in the Bank for us right now. So Andrade ended up taking the mic. He says that in 5 days, he's going to climb the ladder and win the Money in the Bank briefcase. And while Andrade was talking, all we just heard was what chants from the crowd. Who knows if that was edited in or not. So, because we all know, I said with WWE, when they go overseas, they edit stuff, for it to air here in the U.S. whenever they're overseas. So then we had a match. It was a fatal 4-way match. It was Andrade, Cien, Almas versus Randy Orton versus Mustafa Ali and Finn Balor. And this match started while it was at commercial, and you had Andrade taking down all these guys. Andrade Cien Almas ended up winning the match. He ended up hitting the Hammerlock DDT on Finn Balor to score the win. And then he had, after the match, Andrade ended up climbing the ladder. There was a ladder that was set in the ring. Ricochet comes out, of course, due to the wild card rule. Sorry about that, but I was saying Ricochet ended up coming out because of the wild card rule, and he came on the ring apron. He jumped on the top rope onto the ladder, which was awesome. And he jumped on the ladder. Him and Andrade started throwing punches, and he ends up knocking Andrade off the ladder, and Ricochet ends up retrieving the briefcase. So it was cool. It was cool seeing Ricochet jump from the top rope onto the ladder. That was really cool. But this Fatal 4-Way match, it was okay. Then we had Carmella. She ended up cutting a promo, talk about how she's going to win Money in the Bank and how she won Money in the Bank 2 times. It was just that. Then we saw Kofi Kingston. He was backstage. Xavier Woods ends up coming up to him. Kofi ends up telling Xavier to hang back tonight because he's banged up, and Kofi wants to handle business with Kevin Owens. Xavier Woods ended up agreeing. So we had that because earlier in the night, Kevin Owens was having the KO show, and Kofi Kingston was going to be on it. So then we had Charlotte. Charlotte ended up coming out. She ends up saying Sunday we'll see her leave victorious as the SmackDown Women's Champion. It was just a little short promo from Charlotte, not too long. But after she cut her promo, she played a video package covering her rivalry with Becky Lynch from when they first started in NXT to SummerSlam and to WrestleMania this year. So it was just that, the video package showcasing Becky and Charlotte's rivalry. Then we had Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans was backstage. She was staring into a mirror. She turns to the camera and she says, "If we forgot about her." No, we didn't forget. We didn't forget about Lacey. She ends up saying that she guesses people are too busy watching reruns of the Becky and Charlotte show, and have forgotten that Becky has got 2 title matches Sunday. She ends up saying one of which she's going to lose. She says, Lacey says, she'll teach Becky about a woman's right, and that her new nickname will be Becky Black Eye. And Lacey says she would have a new nickname for herself, and that will be Lacey Evans, the new Raw Women's Champion. Now, I have to say that I think Becky is not losing both titles at Money in the Bank. I think she's going to retain both of them. Lacey Evans, again, put the title on Lacey Evans when, she just only had, one match, or one match already. And that was a number 1 contender match for the Raw Women's Championship. So I don't think, WWE is going to let Lacey, win the title just like that. But I have to say, Becky is going to retain both titles. That's my prediction. And then we had Aleister Black. Aleister Black, he ended up cutting a promo. He talks about Shakespeare and the struggle between ambition and the manner how one pursues, their goals, and for opponents that try to get in his head. He says he guarantees they won't like the place they venture into, and thus he closes naked villainy. And then when he said all that, he said, "Fade to black." It was a little promo from Aleister Black. Every week Aleister is cutting these promos. We haven't seen him in the ring since since the Superstar Shakeup when they broke up him and Ricochet. So let's see where Aleister, where they're going to take Aleister. Sorry about that, but I was saying, I really like to see where they take Aleister Black with this. I want to see Aleister back in the ring again soon. Then we had the 4-on-3 handicap match. Shane McMahon, Daniel Bryan, Rowan, and Elias versus the Usos and Roman Reigns. This was a meh match, in my opinion. Shane McMahon, Daniel Bryan, Rowan, and Elias end up winning. Shane ended up hitting the coast to coast on Jey Uso to score the win for him, Daniel Bryan, Rowan, and Elias. Then, after the match, The Miz ended up coming out. He had a chair with him. He ended up hitting Elias with the chair. Shane ended up sliding out of the ring while nothing to do with The Miz. We see the Usos end up laying out a double super kick to Daniel Bryan. And Roman ended up spearing Rowan. So that's what happened after the match. But overall, it was a meh match, in my opinion. Then we had Amber Moon. She ended up cutting a promo. She was talking about how she's going to manifest her own greatness and win the Women's Money in the Bank match. And also, after that, Bayley ended up cutting a promo. She ended up saying, it's a chance for her to step out of the shadows and prove she's not just a hugger or a weak link. And she's my pick to win the Money in the Bank, the Women's Money in the Bank, which I hope she does. I think she deserves it after losing the Women's Tag Team Championships with Sasha at WrestleMania. I think it's time for Bayley to have another shot, give her the Money in the Bank briefcase, make her win the match, because she deserves it. Then we had Paige, Asuka, and Kairi Sane came out. Paige got on the mic. She said it's good to be home, because it's in our home country. She said it's good to be home, and she introduces Asuka and Kairi Sane, and they have a new name that they're calling them. Asuka and Kairi Sane are going to be now known as the Kabuki Warriors. Huh? What? Kabuki Warriors? If you thought the Viking Experience, even though that name was laughable and shitty, Kabuki Warriors. Oh, WWE and their names. They want to call their tag team names. Of course, we have the Kabuki Warriors. First, we have the Viking Experience, then the Viking Raiders, and now Kabuki Warriors. Who is creating this? How does Vince McMahon approve of this? Well, we all know Vince. He's losing it. He lost it a few years ago. So yeah, they're now known as the Kabuki Warriors. Paige goes on to say, you're not just looking at the next WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, but the future of the entire division. So out came Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose ended up telling Paige to take it down a notch. She just named a tag team. So Sonya Deville also got on the mic, and Mandy says, names matter, like Miss Money in the Bank, which is what they'll call her after Sunday. Says they'll go after the tag titles together. So they're actually the future of the women's division. So that's what they had to say. Then we had a match, Kairi, Sane, and Asuka, the Kabuki Warriors versus Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. And this was just a typical women's match. Not good, boring. Of course, we had the Iconics on commentary, Payne Royce and Billie Kay doing commentary during this match. Kairi, Sane, and Asuka, Kabuki Warriors, end up winning. Asuka ended up rolling up Mandy Rose. So that was that. Kairi, Sane, and Asuka win it. Not good of a match. Typical women's match. Then we had Kayla Braxton. She was set to interview Lars Sullivan. He was nowhere, and she was waiting for Lars. And we cut to a video package of Lars Sullivan. And when it was over, we saw Lars by Kayla Braxton. And Kayla Braxton, she's scared there. She's frightened. Asks Lars a question. And Lars ended up remaining silent during that. It was just a most random backstage interview. So we saw Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, he was backstage. He explains why only Kofi Kingston is on his show tonight. He said it's because he's the only one he's wrestling. He asks the question if Kofi can stand on his own. Owens says he knows the answer. And on Sunday, so will the entire WWE Universe. After he breaks his back, Kofi's back or his rib, or knocks a shoulder out of his socket. And Kofi ends up interrupting Kevin Owens. SmackDown went to commercial. Then when SmackDown came back, Kofi was in the ring. Kofi says, he got on the mic and he says he received his invitation, so he is here. So he's here. And we see Kevin said that he wanted Kofi and the title. He's like, well, on Sunday he's going to get his chance. He says he's here on the KO show as a guest, and it would only be fitting if Kevin Owens came out here to be the host. So Kofi ends up introducing Kevin Owens. Owens didn't come out, and Kofi ends up saying, oh, is Kevin Owens all shook up? It's like, of course he couldn't be shook, talking such a big game. And Kofi's like telling Kevin Owens to come on out. Then we see Kevin Owens. He was on the Titantron. He interrupts Kofi. Owens says he guesses his little buddies couldn't make it. And he says for the first time in 11 years, Kofi finds himself alone and at the worst time possible. He says it really was a dream come true, winning the title and sharing it with his brothers and his family. He goes on to say, but during those 11 years, did Kofi ever wonder what happens when the dream ends? Owens says Kofi is only champion because of the New Day. And that means he loses on Sunday. And Owens says he has proof. And Kevin Owens ends up playing a video package covering his debut against John Cena and how he went through the New Day. And while the video package ends, when the video package ended, Kofi says, that didn't prove anything. And that he's getting tired of hearing Owens talk. And he says if Kevin Owens is not coming down here, Owens says he'll come down and leave. Owens says he'll come down. So Owens ends up coming out, heads toward the ring, stops a little short, door at ringside, turns around and leaves. Then he turns back, takes a few more steps, turns back around, and again stops short, just as we see that he's going to leave. So Kofi ends up sliding out of the ring, and we had a brawl on the ramp between Owens and Kofi. And then we see Sami Zayn end up coming out because of the wild card rule. So Sami Zayn came out, made the save for his best friend, who's Kevin Owens. And they start taking down Kofi. They throw Kofi into the apron. And they were sending Kofi up. They were going to do a power bomb on Kofi, but Xavier Woods ended up coming out. Xavier ended up punching Owens. Gets thrown around into the post. Kofi ends up coming back up, starting to fight back. Well, we see Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens throwing punches at Kofi. They end up throwing him into the steel steps. And we go inside. They were still beating up on Kofi. They were choking him in the corner. And we hear Kevin Owens say to Kofi that he could end it right now. But he's not. And he's going to leave just enough for him to make it to Sunday so he could take the title. So Owens ends up backing up. He was trying to hit the cannonball to Kofi. Kofi ended up dodging out of the way. Sami then attacks and he hooks Kofi over the ropes. And looked like Sami Zayn was going to hit the haluva kick to Kofi. Kofi ended up moving out of the way. And that led to Kofi end up hitting the Trouble in Paradise to Sami Zayn. And then Kofi Kingston ended up standing tall. And that's how SmackDown ended. But this SmackDown was pretty much basically, like I said, promo-filled show. 85% promos, 50%, 45% wrestling. That's what it was. That was your go home show. I'm like, you call that a go home show? Just a promo filled filler SmackDown show? That's what it basically was, people. Yeah, so anyways, that's it for my review of this past 2 days SmackDown. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And definitely give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and follow me on the Stardust app. If you haven't yet, it's Mikey Boy 101591. And until next video, I'll see you all later.